All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in. Today's live, we are going to be covering the Dylan Rounds case. It's been a long time. I see a lot of people, familiar faces that know that we were involved in the search in the early days for Dylan Rounds. Sadly, he was murdered on May 28th, I believe. Just on Memorial Weekend on 2022. And jumping forward, eventually the murderer was caught, James Brenner, and he would finally make a plea deal so they could find his body. And not to throw shade at a certain YouTuber, but a YouTuber came out and claimed that they had info on where his remains were found. And of course, at that time, I was kind of moved on. And so I just kind of assumed that was where his remains were found. And so I don't know if it was late September, October, they finally released all of the all the evidence, the FOIA requests and everything. So all the interviews and everything are now released. And anyway, Nate Eaton from East Idaho News did a show on it not too long ago, and I watched that. It was very interesting, but he did leave a lot out. Not to blame him or anything. He just, there's a lot to go over. Yeah, so I went through the information and noticed where his actual remains were found, and I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised, but right now I'm like in shock because, well, we'll get into it. But of course, a quick shout out to my wonderful mods. Thank you guys, Copper Horse Sensei, Mitzi D. Let's see, Copper Mitzi Sensei. I think I got you all. Of course, Jennifer. As always, thank you guys so much for your hard work. And of course, shout out to my wonderful members that support this show and to everybody else that's in here taking the time. So we'll jump right into it because there's a lot of stuff. And I've been spending all morning putting it together in chronological order. And this kind of intertwines with our searches that we went out. We went out just about we would go out, I think, on a Monday or Tuesday, because we felt like if we went out on the weekends, it would be kind of crazy. And so we were going out on either Mondays or Tuesdays, literally week after week after week. And man, it's now knowing where he was found, which we'll obviously get to. It's kind of a surreal thing to... we were right there the entire time. We were right there, and we'll show you guys. I am still in shock right now. So let's get into the story. If you're not familiar with this case, we'll just play a quick recap on it here. This is just kind of going over the story if you're not familiar, but this is a wild story. And of course, I got to be involved not only just in the search with me and my cousin, but eventually we actually went to go search with EquiSearch, Texas EquiSearch, who has obviously been involved in a lot of cases. You always hear them come up when people are missing. Amazing group. And I learned so much when I was out there with them. But let's go over the story. And like I said, we're going to go over some of the interviews. And I'm going to give you some inside info that, again, probably Nate Eaton wouldn't be able to know because, obviously he wasn't a part of the search. But, we love Nate Eaton.
Rounds with a criminal investigation. Tonight we are hearing from the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office and from Dylan's mom. News Specialist Matt Rascone has more on what we know about this search. Matt, what can you tell us?
It is terrible.
Yeah, Mike, it's not a whole lot of details right now. The family is saying that Dylan Rounds was last heard from or seen May 28th and then was reported missing on May 30th. The sheriff's office says this is a top priority. They have all 5 of their detectives on the case searching for answers for Dylan's family.
Right. 2.5 weeks into the search through this barren desert.
It's been horrible because we don't have anything.
Now this is where we'll get into it, but this area right here is very important, and what is kind of sidetracked them, unfortunately. But I'll get into it when the time is right.
Still no clear direction.
I mean, we have.
And this thing is like a mini Grand Canyon.
Where 19-year-old Dylan Rounds could be.
We go down the rabbit hole and there's nothing. We come back out of it and we jump down another one and there's still nothing.
Frustrating doesn't begin to describe the experience for Dylan's mom, Candace Cooley.
Oh, it's terrible, the not knowing.
Dylan has been living in this trailer off and on for the last few years.
It's all there. It's like he just vanished.
Working the land.
His farm was his life. For him to just walk away, we knew was not a possibility.
Oh, if I could summarize this search, it would be difficult and exhausting.
Box Elder County Chief Deputy Cade Palmer says volunteer teams have logged 300 plus hours of searching, covering more than 3,000 miles.
So I can tell you right there, just in that pan right there, he is literally in this frame. Obviously you can't see him from this far away, but yeah, like I said, it's wild now knowing where he was actually found. So let's get into it, guys. A lot to go over. Interviews. Like I said, all this evidence was released. I don't know if it was the beginning of October or late September. But of course, we were busy covering other cases. A lot of trials going on at the beginning of October and in September. So just to recap, he went missing on the 28th. That was a Saturday. Obviously, this is moving into Memorial Weekend, which would have been, on Monday. And he had called his grandmother at 6:51, but he also had called James Brenner, who is also known as Jim. And we're going to see his interview. And basically what he was going to do, because, he was just starting to set up this farm in the middle of the desert. He was going to be growing animal feed and just getting started that summer. And he had a grain truck on a different property close by, and we'll look at an overhead view of the property. But that had seed in it, and it was going to storm that whole weekend. And he had looked it up, and there's actually we'll look at his phone records as well. A bunch of stuff was released, and so he knew he had to get, because it didn't have a cover on it, the grain truck. And so he needed to get over there where Jim was squatting on, because he was technically babysitting the property, but really he was squatting there. But Dylan needed to get over to that property to pull the grain truck inside this grain shed, so the rain wouldn't get onto the feed and ruin it. That is his father. Amazing guy, really nice. You know, he got us a hotel when we were out there, and just really, really amazing. That's Justin Rounds.
Yards is his last known location.
So you can't see the date in this one because I took I was pulling all these body cam because there's tons of body cam footage, and again I'm just trying to edit in chronological order. And anyway, this is when they first kind of got out there. So I think this is like May 30th maybe.
His camper is about 4 miles.
And that's his mother
back up
speaking.
This way by his pond, and we're really thinking he might have.
Actually, Alan, there's more to it, I think.
Because there's been no.
I think there's more to it.
Yeah,
No.
I did get a ping.
Okay.
Last location was 15.4 miles from the phone line tower,
Okay.
which puts him on this back road.
So I wonder would that hit him walking?
Now notice that the wind, this is very common out there because it's just flat desert, you know, there is mountain ranges, you know, out there, but obviously since it's a very flat area, it gets very windy. It's always windy out there. So I apologize for it's probably kind of hard to hear some of the words, but they're basically talking about, because they wanted to pull his last phone ping to see where he was at, because they got one last ping before the phone just died. And it's not an exact ping, but they say it's 15 point something miles from the tower, which I'll show on how that works. So they kind of had an idea.
Okay.
That's Don Hatley, who also worked with him, and then the guy behind him is the suspect, Jim Brenner.
I know my son, and that's the shortest route to his camp.
If he walked,
that road ends right out there.
If he walked, he would have come to the corner, cut across this field.
But that's his closest
What's up, man, Ninja? Good to see you, buddy.
Not in town, it's out here.
Off of that road.
I'll rebuild that, Alan, when the time's right, buddy.
It ends out there at the old cabin.
But that's where the ping was.
That's where the ping was.
He was out there?
Yeah.
So are you guys...
I used to work with Dylan, my brother's grandfather.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's
This
supposed to keep an
Don
eye on
Jim.
shit around.
So, what's your name?
Don Haley.
Don and
Jim Brenner.
Jim Brenner?
I've been down to his place twice. Went down yesterday afternoon, looked around. Hadn't been in his bed. His pickup's locked. All the equipment's where it's supposed to be there.
Is the trailer open?
He never locks it. Doesn't lock anyway. Today I took Jim down there with me, and we did a little more thorough search.
And he wasn't in the camp?
So for those that don't know, so the family lives in Idaho. This is in northwestern Utah, kind of right on the border of Nevada and almost Idaho. But there's kind of a big mountain range, so to get to like certain cities in Idaho, you'd have to go 2 different ways kind of around this mountain range. But his family lived in kind of southern Idaho. I forget which town exactly, but I think like 2-3 hours away, maybe a little bit more, somewhere around in there. So of course, he was murdered on the 28th, and we'll get into the details. Then there was 2 days where obviously the family wasn't sure if, something was wrong, because they didn't hear from him from the rest of the day of 28th. And then the 29th, they asked these guys to go and look for him. And then on the 30th, I think, is when they got out there.
Camper, doesn't look like anybody's been around.
I checked. It's been raining off and on since Saturday, so any fresh rats were kind of mushed out.
Yeah.
He was on that back road down there. We ought to go look that way. I didn't realize it.
I don't know how. Can you guys show us? I mean,
I don't
we're
know how
not
we would do it though, and he had the green truck.
No.
walking. That doesn't mean that's his exact location. That's the closest.
Now notice how Brenner will just kind of, he'll start pointing, and later on in interviews, he'll start pointing the finger at everybody else. But notice he's kind of, asking these weird questions about the phone. And anyway.
That's the last ping for whether he tried to use it or the last location it updated before it died.
What time was that? Does it tell you?
That was at 14:58.
So right after
just before 3 o'clock.
Right after you left. So he must have pulled in right behind you, dropped off the grain truck, and I'm telling you, I bet you he took off walking.
How do you get to that road from? So we don't have to go all the way back to Lucin Pond and over.
No, I guess we'll go. Okay.
I'll find it.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for that that wind. That is just so common out there. It was a pain in the butt because obviously we would fly the drone, and if it gets over like I think 25 miles an hour, you're kind of you're running the battery really fast, and if it gets any higher than that, you're really not supposed to have the drone up. So again, more footage. They would find his boots when they got out there. This mound here is kind of where they would throw their garbage. From what I understand, this was kind of like a garbage pile. And I'm assuming that's why it's like a mound like that. That's what I was told anyway. His boots would be found. Now, for those who don't know Dylan, he always wore the same pair of boots, and he'd wear them until he wore them out, and then he would get the exact same pair. And he usually just had one pair. So when they found his boots just sitting there near this mound without Dylan, they knew something was wrong because, that's his only pair of boots. So then they got worried. They thought, okay, well, maybe he's just out there stranded somewhere, wandering, somewhere, and maybe got hurt. Just kind of reading chat here. So anyway, and of course his boots would have, they didn't know it at the time, but they had blood spots on them. But they really, at the time, they don't really look like blood. It just looked like, if you, dark spots, but it would be blood on his boots.
No, he doesn't own 4 miles. No, he's just got that one section. But it's 4 miles from this fence down to his. Is that the last fence from his property?
Oh, no worries, Peacemaker. We're just starting.
Yeah, that's the old fence across the road that's down. That's the way out on the road.
Did Candace ever say she
So they're trying to figure things out, obviously, the properties.
The other side of that fence.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like that right there.
All this weed stuff?
Yeah, it's because I come in that way from his
Yeah,
place.
she had a bad feeling from day one.
Yeah, they got a couple of them. Whether if they can fly it in the wind, I don't know. I think it's good up to like 20 mile an hour wind, so this should be fine.
Okay, so
kept walking or whatever he did. Once it's dead.
Is there any steep terrain or steep stuff, or is it just this brush?
Well, there's a couple of little washes that are 4 or 5 foot deep. Nothing to get fall down. Like I said, I can't picture him doing this.
If he didn't have a ride, he'd do it.
So look, so here's Candace, the mother, and notice Jim kind of having going back and forth, and and that's when Candace, had a feeling right away.
Not when it's easier to walk up that road. This is.
Dylan would take a cut across. I'm telling you, Dylan
He
would
would?
take the shortest route possible.
He's all about exploring.
Yes, that's what he.
That
he
mountain
would.
over there, Pigeon Mountain, he's been to the top of that.
Yeah. He would definitely walk.
For those that have seen this for the first time, is it kind of wild to see Jim like this? Because for those that are familiar with this case and seen him in court where he's got this long beard, he looks like a completely different man, and he's just kind of shuffling along like a sad, pathetic, piece of dirt he is.
Because this is nothing for him.
Yeah, Groovy Girl. This, it did. I feel you. I was
being very friendly with the cop. He knows where the body is at this moment, yet the cop's doing a basic search at things all around.
So when you were out there the other day, were you just out walking, or did you haul some trash out there? Oh, you're attaching your horse, you said.
Yeah.
That's the horse prints. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, those horse prints, obviously, for those that are familiar with the case, that's going to be very important a little bit later on. And just in a minute, after we look at this little shack here, when we get to the grain shed, Yeah, I think there's also, as far as motive, we'll explain that here in a minute.
He's got an owie on the end of his nose, and I'm spraying him with this stuff.
Scarlet oil?
Scarlet oil, yeah, and it seems to be working.
Do you ride very often?
I haven't ridden in over a year because I broke my ankle, and he got screwed up, and it's just one thing after another. But
It is.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't get rid of friends.
That's so eerie for him to say that.
Yeah, just those two boots out there, they're brand new. Like they've only been out there. They're the same color leather as your boots, and they're the same ones he wears. So we're just curious of why his boots would be out there. Same size he wears. They've only been out there probably for a day or two.
So those that are not familiar with the area, so if you were to go, I don't know if it's like a mile, maybe 2 miles, east. So we're looking almost east right here. That's where Dylan Rounds had his farm and his camper and his truck. And then this area here is where basically it's been dubbed the grain shed. And then right next to the grain shed was where his boots were found. And obviously the person that's on this property is Jim. He's the only one. So clearly, that raises some red flags right away.
So we're just curious of, does he ride horses? Dylan?
I think he's got a horse, but I don't think he
rides it.
He likes riding tractors. He might have threw him out there. I don't know.
Maybe he did. Well, does he know that's a dump out there? He does?
He's got electronics and shit in.
Yeah, so see, he's saying it's a dump.
They're talking about Dylan's boots. Remember the boots? And I have a photo of them.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm talking Nate Eaton.
99 cents on sale.
Yeah.
And I love mushrooms in the wintertime. I can't get in the store. I just dehydrate.
We love Nate Eaton.
Just hot water.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no.
Actually, I think the injuries, I think Tittlesworth's, I think he was talking about the horse with the owie. Because he mentions owie, and I think he was talking about his horse.
Okay, well, they'll be here for a while to look around and see if...
They said his phone pinged, and I don't understand it.
So look, he's still worried about that phone ping.
His phone pinged down there.
Well, 15.12 miles from Boating Tower. So, I mean... Yeah, so, I mean, but 15.12 miles can be a lot of places, right? You could draw a radius, and anywhere on that radius could be 15.12 miles.
Oh, Nate's the best.
Well, like I told his grandfather, he goes over to the pond. I do too. The pond has the best drink.
So I know it's hard to hear, but he mentioned the pond. He mentions the pond multiple times. And I was blown away by this. I was really blown away by this. That he's mentioning the pond. Because for those that don't know this story yet, the phone's going to be found in the pond.
Dropped his phone. He's always losing his phone.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's the last time I've seen him.
It was I don't know for how long.
They're cutting wood. He stopped in to get water and talking.
But this is his fuel truck, huh?
Yep.
He's buying it?
Yeah, he's buying it, and I think the fuel is, as long as Joe checks, I don't know the whole deal. Yeah, did you look in there?
I'm going to check that out right now. There better not be a rabid raccoon in there. I don't know.
Sounds like a really nice officer, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's like 20 people out here right now.
But clearly he's doing his due diligence, officer. He's looking in all the vehicles, obviously, just to make sure, there isn't a body.
Alrighty.
Like I say, you don't go in a bar and brag about how much money you're making, especially in
Okay, so right there, I know it's so hard to hear. He just said, and this is something that was brought up a lot, and I think really kind of misdirected them, is he got this check for 30,000 grand. It was supposed to be for, I believe, equipment, farming stuff, and they recovered the check. There's actually photo evidence of the $30,000 check, which is interesting. I don't know if that was in his truck or what. So he just said right there, well, he just got a bunch of money, and he was in this town. Anybody doesn't know this area, we'll talk about it. The nearest town is Montello. It's just a little town. I forget the population, probably like less than 50 people, maybe. Correct me, somewhere around in there. Maybe 50 to 100, somewhere around in there. It used to be bigger, but it's I guess it's kind of has died down, unfortunately. But so anyway, he's saying like, yeah, he was going over there, and because Dylan did go to this, obviously, because it's the nearest town that has a gas station, it's got a bar, and he would spend nights at this place in a camper at that bar. And anyway, so he's saying that he was bragging about this money that he got, kind of obviously implicating people in Montello. So then we move to, I believe this is the same day, they get to his truck and they find out Dylan's truck, which there was a bunch of weird things with. One, it was locked. He never locked his truck, ever. So now we're at his farm. So now we're, I think it's a few miles east of where we were just at. And his truck's there, but it's locked, which is not like him. And they can't find his key fob. He has a key fob for the truck. And usually you keep it on his person or be in his trailer, which is in front of the truck. So they ended up busting the back window. So, this window here, right here, they ended up busting this here so they could get in it. And then they ended up taking out the battery, or just unplugging the battery to,
Guns in there.
No guns in there?
Like I said, he has a 40 that he puts in the door on the other side, and then he has a shotgun. No guns in there.
Yeah. Let me turn this down for a minute. So
Just pop the back window.
I broke it out.
So one thing they noticed right away with the truck, and I've got a couple of shots of the truck, is they noticed that it was power washed. Now, it had stormed that weekend, so maybe there's a few days where obviously they didn't know what was going on. They come, they find that Dylan's truck is at, his farm. Yet the last time they ever heard from him was when he spoke to his grandma very quickly, just saying, hey, I'm going to go park the grain truck where Jim is at, so he could get it in the shed, so with the rain coming down, it doesn't get on the grain feed. But then they have no idea what happened to him after that. And now his truck, because clearly he was driving his truck to the grain shed area, now his truck is back at at his farm. And they noticed it's power washed. And they thought that was kind of odd because he never, according to what I heard, he would never power wash it unless he absolutely needed to. So they thought that was really odd. And then the seat was pulled all the way forward to make it appear as if a short person was driving it.
Yeah, I just broke that window to crawl in.
Oh, thank you, Megan. God bless you. Oh, turn this down. But this is when things start getting weird. And that wind, man, we had to deal with that wind all the time. Like, either you'd get lucky and you'd have a good day, and then just out of the blue, it's just like, just comment out there. But as you can see, now people had made note of this damage of the front. This happened before he went missing. But the other thing that they noticed that was huge red flag to them is it was put in 4 low. Excuse me. And the reason that was a red flag is because the transmission, it had a new transmission put in it. But the guy that put in the transmission messed something up, and it wouldn't allow it to use 4 low. It would still drive in 4 low, but it would not have the 4-wheel drive that should be working when you put it to 4 low. So they knew that was like, well, Dylan did not drive this last because Dylan would never put it in 4 low because 4 low doesn't work. So they knew, like, whoever drove this, it was not Dylan. And then having the seat pulled forward, they were kind of thinking, oh, maybe somebody's short. But was that just done to throw them off? So a lot of crazy stuff there. And then this is when it gets weird, because now they're going to get pulled into Montello because some things go down. I'm not going to get too much into this because I want to keep it flowing. But things start getting weird and stories are being brought up.
2 different times. Come looking for him, but they want
Generator's running.
running? Yeah. That must mean the pump shut down a lot of fuel.
Is it pumping water into here? Or to the pivot?
I think there's a well there on that pumps right there.
Um,
Generator just runs the pivot around.
No, I don't think so. Oh, sorry, the wind. Yeah, I don't think so, Wino. And I'll show you, because we pretty much flew over it. This is why I'm like in shock right now, because it's crazy.
When he likes to explore, would he try to run around, or he wouldn't do that without a cell phone being charged, right?
So I'm gonna skip this a little bit here. So there's Don Hatley again. So Don and Jim kind of worked and helped out Dylan. They were kind of helping him set up this farm and, get it going. Hatley had his own property. And then, of course, we had Jim, who's, squatting on what's called the Chicho's property. But we'll just call it the grain shed property to not make it confusing.
Yeah, it was running.
Okay, so as you can see, there's the grain shed. This is a top-down view of the grain shed property where Jim was staying. He's got his little camper, I think, like here. Or I'm not sure. They may have taken it already, but I think it was parked right here. But that's the grain shed truck there, and of course we'll get into that in a bit. But there's plenty of new footage that we're going to get into. But so we just finished on May 30th, right? And now keep in mind, so for those that don't know, Brenner had a pretty outstanding background. He had a 3rd-degree felony charge, and he had an outstanding warrant. And this is where people are just, especially the family, are just so furious because he had an outstanding warrant. All these guys had to do was run a simple background on this guy, and would have came up like warrant. And it's for attempted murder in the state of, I think, Maryland or something like that. Something that dates way back. I don't know why. I guess he just never, did all the court stuff or, but anyway, whatever he did, he never finalized it, resolved it, and so he's had this outstanding warrant. But they never ran that background. So instead of focusing on Jim, they just were obviously, and at that time they were still kind of, had hope. They were thinking, Dylan's hurt and they're just gonna, hopefully find him somewhere, because it's in the middle of summer. Even though the desert, it does get warm, it still does get cool at night.
Next morning there was 2 sets of tracks.
So now we go to June 1st, and this is where it gets very interesting. And they're going to go to the grain shed, and this is where he's going to say some things that I think could be part of the motive of why he just snapped.
There was another set leaving that was like a smaller truck dually.
Okay.
That was heading out.
Okay. All right. Well, do you mind if we go take a look at?
I know.
Somebody overstepped, or
there's been like 300 people climbing all over that. But go ahead.
It's okay. It just helps us scratch it off the list.
Yeah.
So they said they found his boots.
Good to see you, Dale. Hope you're doing well. Copper Horse, God bless you. Hope you're doing well.
See that pile of dirt over there? Yeah. Well, that pile of dirt was a hole.
One way over there.
There's a pile, yeah, right over there. And Dylan's got all kinds of stuff in there, electronics, solar panels and stuff. And that's a pit. So he probably threw them in there.
So here's some pictures of the boots. I didn't get the close-ups, but I'm not sure if they're on both boots, but there are like little spots, which are blood spots. Because obviously he was shot, for those that don't know, Jim Brenner shot Dylan. And we'll kind of explain in my opinion, I don't know if we'll ever know the exact details, but we have kind of a general idea of what happened. But again, Dylan Round only had usually one pair of boots. So for him to just, he's just saying, oh, he just threw a pair of boots, but his mother knew. It's like, wait a minute, like these are his only pair of boots. He'll wear them until they're worn out, and then he'll get a new pair. So she knew something was wrong. But he's kind of blowing it off as it's not a big deal, whatever. So there's one boot here and one sitting over there. No, it's not, Amy. And you're going to be shocked at what they had to do. And this is why I'm telling this story, plus because there's all this new evidence that came out, never seen before, interrogations and all this. And, of course, this kind of intertwines with our search. And again, we're going to get to a part where I'm like...
John Hughes starts driving his diesel truck.
Okay, what kind of truck is that?
It's a gray Chevy. That here, right there.
Oh, okay. So it's the old 6.2?
Yeah, it's extended cab.
Yeah.
And that son of a bitch should be checked out.
Okay.
So here he's throwing some John Hughes guy under the bus. He'll throw Chase Ventura. He'll start throwing a lot of people, which a lot of these guys do have really bad backgrounds, criminal histories. So it did kind of make sense when he started throwing these names out, and then they're like, oh yeah, they're looking up the records. And I'm sure they probably even know most of these guys anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, you gave me the list of names.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is it?
This is it. I just got that.
Hey, Record Desk, good to see you.
Got out of the way. I got that there so my horse don't get in there.
Okay, so right here, again, so this is, to me, I just saw this for the first time today. And so listen to what he says, because remember, Dylan, well, I'll explain what I think kind of happened at the end, or not at the end, but kind of in the middle. But I think this is part of the motive right here. And just listen to what he says here.
Oh, okay.
See, what he did when Dylan backed in, he must have been in a hurry. He knocked my stall. I had
I see the broken wood.
I had a post right here, and this was the gate, and he backed into it and busted out. So I don't want my horse running around in the shop.
Right.
He moved all my stuff over. I was building a chicken coop right here. He was in a hurry. And because I guess it was raining, he wanted to get this under cover.
Is there something in this?
Yeah, there's Tetracal.
Okay.
Tetracal. Yeah, I always forget that. I always want to say tetracytes or something like that. But that's like a feed for like animal feed, I believe. But as you just heard, notice he's like, well, yeah, Dylan must have been in a rush, and he, backed it in, and he moved some stuff, and I think he might even hit a few things. And so again, we'll circle back to that because I think he heard this stuff going on and he got pissed off.
So if it was raining, he'd be in a hurry.
Yeah, and they kept saying that he walked. I don't see it. First of all, if he was going to walk, I don't know if you're familiar with this area, but right over there.
So now he's pointing towards the direction, for those that are not oriented with this area. He's kind of pointing towards where Dylan's farm is. He's almost kind of pointing east, a little bit more south. Yeah, south, but it's kind of towards his direction where his farm's at.
Walk up there a little bit. You can see Jay Tanner's solar panels.
Yeah, I saw those.
And he would have walked that way.
Mm-hmm.
Or, kind of that way. The ground is good over there.
Okay.
Down this way, there's tumbleweeds this high.
Yeah, I've driven around over there.
Yeah. So.
All right.
I think he may have wino, and we'll get into that in a bit. So here's a overshot. Now this was shot by Heavy D Sparks, and then of course this is our drone footage. This is kind of showing a before and after because we wanted to see if if there was any difference, like holes or any difference in the dirt, to see if he had tried to dig something or bury something. So I studied all this, which I'll be honest, we were close. But we'll get to where he was at. But we still got a bit to go over here. So moving on. So again, that's the grain shed. Okay, let me pause that here. So here's where his farm was at. There's a road that goes. He was driving on May 28th. He woke up maybe 6 a.m. And the next screenshot I have is his actual phone record of that day. And one of the things he did is he called Brenner, but Brenner did not pick up. And then he called his grandmother, and then I think his grandmother actually called him back. And then he spoke to his grandmother. And then in between that, he checked the weather. So he must have known that the weather was going to be bad and it was going to rain. So he's rushing to get that because he knew the grain truck was out and he knew it was going to rain. And if the rain gets on it, it ruins it. And I don't know how much that's worth, but obviously, he's just starting to, plant. And so, he's rushing over there. And then, unfortunately, that's the last time anybody heard from him, was his grandmother at 6:49. Then later on, they would get a ping from his phone, and it said something like 3, I forget the exact time. We'll get to it here, but it's like 2 or 3 p.m., something like that. That was over kind of this way here. But they noticed his phone actually had moved around, which I thought that was interesting. I don't know. Did she say that? I haven't heard that. I mean, it's possible. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I think it was over the gate. It had to possibly do something with the gate, but I think it was more than that. But I do think that was part of it. But here is his records here. I'm not going to really go much over there, but he obviously opened up the weather forecast, see what was going on. And we could see he called his grandmother, and it looks like she called him back. And then after that, he must have arrived at that green shed.
In fact, he brought up a whole bunch of cleaning supplies down there. He was in the process. He had too many friggin' irons in the fire. And I told him, to stay the hell out of Montello.
So here he is, blaming people in Montello, where there's, obviously there has been, some criminals there.
And he was a thick-headed kid. And he was in there drinking and shooting his mouth off about how much money he's making.
And that was the big thing is, he got this money, but it was a check. So, I don't know how they were going to steal money. And he didn't have cash on him. He either used a credit card, debit card, or he had this check, again, like I said. But, again, I think obviously he's just trying to throw out, suggestions, point, away from him. And then, and when you hear it, and if you not familiar with the case, you would think, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense, if he was spouting off that he's got all this money and stuff. Yeah.
And it used to be over there when they got me.
Some of it is, yeah, in between one.
Right.
I've got
guns over
100 hours
So
worth
tell
of
me what you
footage.
think might have happened.
Well, I think somebody tried to rob him. Dylan never carries any money on him. He always carries credit cards because he's always borrowing money off of me. I don't get into it. He owes me money. Anyways, no big deal. But I think he was over there. He buys everything on credit cards. They see him, ordering something to eat, and I guess they were serving him alcohol over there, which they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And this John Hughes piece of shit that I keep mentioning, he's always in there playing the slot machines.
We'll get to that, Kurt, here in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
How old is John?
too friggin' old. If I ever catch him out here, he ain't gonna get any older. But between 40 and 50. He looks like Barney Rubble. Walks like he's got a broken pool cue jammed up his ass. Because when they stole my winch that day, 2 years ago, they come back the next day and burnt me out. I remember that walk. And I didn't know anybody over there at the time. And it was him and Chase. I didn't know.
So Chase was a name that was brought up. He was actually the first person of interest before Jim was, because there was this story that Dylan had picked up this guy named Chase that in the middle of the desert, kind of, which was between Nevada and Utah. I think he was either coming from or going to Montello, and he came across this guy. There's multiple stories, different stories or versions of events, I should say. Long story short, Chase Ventura would be brought up, and of course he had a criminal history, and so they thought maybe he could have had something to do with it, because allegedly Dylan Rounds gave him a ride, and then maybe heard about the money or something. And anyway, so again, he's bringing up names that I'm assuming these guys probably have heard of before.
Chase at the time. Chase showed up about a year later, but then his kid was working. There you go. His kid was working for Dylan about a year ago, and his kid told
Chase's son?
Vector, yeah, Bridger. Bridger told Dylan that, oh yeah, my dad's been out here for 15 years. He comes out here and steals stuff. And then all the gas, I've had gas siphoned out of that when I was with Becky in Montello, and I see some shit going on. But I think I didn't know this until the other day. His grandmother told me that he run into Chase on the Tacoma Road.
Okay.
And I don't quite know what happened, but he was scared. And I think Chase come out here figured he was gonna get some money on him, or I don't know what happened. But Robert Avila is another one.
So Dylan ran into Chase on the.
So you'll hear throughout this. We're about a third of the way into the story here, and you'll hear Chase Ventura and Robert Avilas. And they both have extensive criminal histories.
Tacoma Road.
And I guess Chase got a ride out here. I just heard this. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys
we'll
question
we'll
them or
touch on it a little bit,
County.
Sweet Caroline.
They question Robert Avila.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy.
Jimmy, I've never met him.
Okay.
I've heard of him. He keeps to himself down there. That's fine with me.
The tunes that.
Okay.
Appreciate you letting us look around. We'll.
So now we're so we have 29th, 30th, June 1st. So we're on June 1st, right? So it's 3 days missing right now. And now we're going to go into the town of Montello because something goes down. And there's all these crazy stories that are going on. And so the family gets brought out over there because they're hearing all this stuff. Obviously, Jim's talking about all these guys. And so everybody's pointing, everybody out here is pointing over to Montello, And so where do we go?
Yeah, anything to help.
I appreciate it.
I think you guys need to rattle Elko County and clean that fucking mess up over there.
And
All right,
we are
guys.
in
So this is
the town of Montello. And as you can see, it's still June 1st. Now it's kind of more in the afternoon. And so the family's out here, following some crazy leads. And this is very important because there's stuff going on while they're out here, which we'll get into in just a minute. But I want to quickly shout out Record Des. God bless you. Thank you so much for the support. If you did get gifted a Mob Crew membership, if you could thank Record Des, that is awesome. I promise you, if you haven't heard this story, or if you have, I promise you, this is going to be wild because this is intertwining not only what was just released recently, but what unseen footage that I have. And like I said, Nate Eaton did a story on it. Mike from that chapter did a video on it. But again, they don't. They just have their version of events, but obviously, since I was, involved in the search, I have, my stories to share that kind of intertwine with these, and I can kind of give some insight that I experienced. So anyway, here we are now in the town of Montello because they're following some leads.
This is the family.
Yes.
Okay.
All the two people.
All
They're
the
the ones that gave.
So just a reminder, that's the father, Justin Rounds, and this is Candace, the mother. Now, they're not together. They split a long time ago. So they each have, I think they're each both married now to other people. But either way, father and mother.
What's the information?
Who's the two people?
That guy over there in the black with the 1776 shirt right there.
Okay.
That guy.
Who's got weapons?
And this is a local bar, the Saddle Sore, and I forget the other one. There's like two bars. Basically owned, you'll hear the Wadsworths come up, Troy and Kurt, right? We're not going to get too much into that rabbit hole, but they get brought up as well because Dylan would come out to Montello and he would actually stay in Kurt Wadsworth, the Wadsworth brothers, Kurt and Troy. And he would actually stay in a trailer that Kurt owned, from what I understand.
On them right now. Nobody has weapons on them.
Nobody has weapons.
So obviously they went out there to, follow up on some leads.
Okay. Let me wait for the guy to get over here. So, tell me again what you have suspicion to believe right now.
Oh, thank you so much, Wino. God bless.
Is there anyone in here?
No, this guy owns the place.
So what they're doing is
That guy back there owns.
they've got somebody who's watching out for, I think the individual is for doing this.
Okay.
And he's like, they're over that way, just a short ways away over here. So they've just been here waiting for you guys to show up.
Okay.
And she can walk you through how we.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay,
so so on 525 is when Dylan ran into Chase with the desert and called
We will
right
talk
after.
about the rainy
He
days.
had
Good
no
to see
shoes
you. Hope
on.
you're doing well.
Dylan wouldn't let him take his phone or give him a ride, but he did allow him to call his dad on speakerphone in Ogden, Utah.
Okay.
Dylan allowed Chase.
Dylan allowed Chase to, and then he gave him some coke.
So while they're out there, so it's June 1st, right? Some things now. We'll see the trailer here in just a second. So obviously he's got a trailer at his farm, and when they searched it, there was nothing out of the ordinary, but there was two things missing: his gun, his 6-hour, and his key fob. And here's just kind of an overview look here. So here's the grain shed here, and here's where Montello is. And then his property is kind of right here to the right. So we have his property, the grain shed, and then we go in this line here. This is Utah, and this is Nevada. So obviously they're way over here, miles away. And so now we only have Jim and then Don, who's over here, and of course his property that I don't think anybody's over there right now.
We found them. There's a story behind it, I can tell you.
So now, as you can see, it is June 2nd, and it's almost close to midnight there. And they call in. I'm not sure how they ended up there, but either they called them or whatever, but they're there. And this is very important because when they come back, they notice when they go in the trailer, there's something there.
Okay. The shotgun is in a house in Rigby. Okay. That is my grandfather's that I bought, and he has a room up there, and that was the 40 was not in here.
The 40 meaning the 6-hour gun. It wasn't in there before, and now it is.
Looked in his camper, didn't find it. No key fob for the truck, so when I broke the window, the alarm went off, we undid the battery. No key fob. We looked in his camper and all the cupboards and stuff, looked in the bathroom, nothing. I believe it was Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I'm getting my days kind of run together.
I think that's right. No, it's
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
My mother came here. She has real bad arthritis. My sister was here. We were all out searching. She used the bathroom. Dylan hadn't flushed it. You'll see it in here. It's really nasty. So my sister went in and cleaned it. Still no gun. Later, my son and JD.
I'm not sure. I think it might be.
Sink. It's outside of the bathroom, but right by the bathroom door where the toilet and the shower is the sink, but it's not in the bathroom. The gun was sitting right there with the clip outside of it. Okay.
So while they're over in Montello, dealing with different leads, and they're out there kind of for 2 days. I mean, they're coming back and forth, but obviously this is, it takes hours to drive out there because you kind of only have one road, and you kind of have to go off the beaten path. You can't just go straight to Montello, and so they come back one time, and there's the gun with the clip outside of it, sitting in the trailer in the bathroom. Then they go out again, and then when they came back today on June 2nd, they find the key fob to the truck in the trailer. And they're like, what the hell? We know we were in this trailer before. We didn't see it. So, of course, huge red flags. So that means somebody is bringing back these items that obviously belong to Dylan. Thank you, Record Man. You're awesome. I appreciate the support. God bless you. And shout out to Fly Girl.
They grabbed the gun, put it in my truck. I didn't think much of it. Oh, they found the gun. I don't know. Then we started realizing that it wasn't there when my sister cleaned the bathroom for my mom to use and all that, and it was there. Then later they found the key fob the next morning, I believe, and I don't remember which morning, what day it was. Candace has all this documented, and we told the detectives. Okay. The key fob was in there. Okay. There's a key fob in here now, but that came from Rigby. My mom brought it back. So. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to fast forward this. They kind of document the truck. I'm going to do something for my members of Patreons where I'm going to put all the unedited stuff out. Obviously, I'm not going to put any. There's nothing really, as far as the remains, there's nothing, that they released that's, obviously graphic or anything like that. And of course, I would never do that. Show anything that would be graphic if there was. But I'll release the stuff kind of in a chronological order and stuff like that. But anyway, so then they go and they document his trailer.
He came out here and was going to try to dry farm, and he started working with the water rights, and he went and got some water rights on his own, doing all that kind of stuff. And got water rights.
Thank you so much, Angel. God bless you.
So I don't know. He just wants to farm. It was cheap, really cheap ground. Garbage.
So now they're documenting the trailer because obviously if these two items came back, they want to take pictures just in case, something else comes back. They can look back on.
So does anything look out of place?
Evidence.
It looks a little bit clean from when I came in here, a little bit. And I know it's hard to believe, but like I said, my sister kind of cleaned up. I don't think we expected really at the time that he was really going to not come back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is that for the gun?
Yeah.
Huh.
Would we even know?
So is the gun in case?
No, the gun was. I don't know if the case was there. I don't know a whole lot about
thanks
this.
so much, Bogart.
Okay, you might want to take a picture of that, and then we can ask Candace, my ex-wife,
okay,
if she remembers the gun case being in the sink. She's been documenting.
Okay, so I'm gonna go forward here. So, the gun was returned on June 1st, and then the key fob showed up next, as we just talked about. So clearly, somebody, while they were going out west, somebody was going and placing these items each night that they were going, or day or whatever. And obviously these two items, the gun and the key fob, belonged to Dylan. During this time, we went out for our first search. During that Sunday or Monday, I can't remember. We usually went on a Monday, but I can't remember. The first time it might have been a Sunday, which would have been like June 5th or something like that. I'll have to look at the date here. But so if you guys remember, Heavy D went out and there's this big, what we call a wash. Basically it's where water used to be floods, and it carved these little mini Grand Canyons. And this one here is very deep and tall and wide. It's very beautiful, but they had noticed there was what looked like fresh tracks, like somebody had driven in this wash. And they noticed it had fishtailed. And they thought, man, that could have been Dylan's truck. Somebody else driving Dylan's truck, because his four-wheel wasn't working. Here's our footage here, going out the first time and realizing there's cows everywhere. They have the sun tunnels out there, which is really cool. If I get some time, I'll explain why they have the holes, but they line up with the spring, the equinoxes and everything. It's really cool. But then we get, if you guys remember, the first drone footage I released, this was real popular. I released it on their Facebook page, and everybody was fascinated on this. This is some kind of washer or something like that. But, of course, when we were flying over, we're like, oh God, we thought that was a body at first because we thought it was kind of clothing. And anyway, I think it's some kind of washer or something, or water heater. I think it's a water heater. So we went out either that 5th or 6th, and that was that footage. And then we would go out every week after that. And the next week, that same week, we went out to the water hole as well, which is obviously very important. It'll all come together here in a bit. This is why I'm still just in shock. But this is very important. So now we're June 10th. And this is the day that James Brenner, they finally do a background check on him. Before this, he had been cleaning out the grain shed and throwing stuff away and probably got rid of evidence, sadly. But here they are. They arrived, and it's June 10th, and we'll just play this. Of course, they ask him again about what may have happened. Did you see Dylan? And I'll kind of explain the story. I'll let him say it, but if it's hard to hear, I'll kind of explain it for you guys. But this is very important because, he claims he never saw Dylan.
And I've heard him mentioned. I haven't talked to him yet.
I think Detective Prager handled that one.
Did they?
Yeah.
So is there someone that lives there, Jim?
That would be Boyd.
What about like this weird decorative stuff? But nobody lives there.
I don't think so.
I'm sure it's owned by someone, obviously, but.
No, and then that white place up here, somebody owns that, but nobody lives in it.
Oh, that
Yeah.
building thing?
I actually told those guys to go up and check that because we had a guy vandalizing it. And he was staying in there. We didn't know.
So do you see anybody from down this way? What's his name? Is it
Jimmy?
Jimmy, you ever see him?
I met him once and I didn't know who the hell he was. I worked for I did his cattle and that.
Yeah, fishtail, yeah.
Matt Wadsworth out of Pinnacle. Okay. He associated with this guy. Matt had a habit of goofing off all day and wanting to work all night.
Mm-hmm.
And I flat out told him we're not going to do that around here. Because it was dark, and I really didn't, all I could see was two big shadows. It was a Dodge pickup pulling the trailer. And I come walking out, and he says, oh, I didn't even know anybody lived down here. I said, yeah, I'm caretaker down here. I said, what do you want? Well, we're down here to help Matt. And I told him flat out, I said, well, I told Matt we work daytime, and I said, Matt just called me and said, Matt never said anything about this guy coming down. And he was polite. He said, I'm sorry, we'll close the, and I said, because I got a horse in there. And I said, I need that gate closed when you guys go out. Okay, we'll close the gate. And that's the only interaction I've ever had with Jimmy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, he always brings up that gate, even though it's not his property, but he has that horse on that property, and it's gotten out before, and he got super pissed off. And so, of course, the gate gets brought up a lot, and it was kind of one of the things that we kind of assumed or theorized that could have been part of the motive why he got mad and just snapped. But I think it's a combination of things, and I really think it was part of that grain shed because, I had heard that he'd moved some stuff of Jim's in the grain shed, but I didn't know that he may have probably, because he was in a rush, he probably backed up into some of the stuff that was Jim's in that shed that was in the way, and he was probably pissed off because Dylan isn't a kid to mess around. He was ahead of his years, even though he was 19, he was, an adult that was, had dreams, and he was no nonsense.
I don't believe he even drives up this way very often. Cause
goes the other way?
There's a road down by his place that goes right out to Highway 30.
I got you.
I don't know what his deal is. He as long as he stays down there, I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Gail.
This trash over here. I know names. I know people. I know nobody seems to want to listen to me.
So, because he's pointing at everybody else. Look at these guys. Look at these guys. I got Robert Avilius. I got Chase Venstra. I got Wadsworth. Everybody else. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
They're the ones coming over stealing shit.
Are they?
Yeah. Chase Vestra and Robert Avilius are the one that robbed Michael Moore up here. And I knew it was going to happen before
Michael Moore?
Happened, but the information I got was going to be Grouse Creek. They were going to hit a place in Grouse Creek, and I got a hold of, I told him and Dylan to get a hold of,
Sorry, it gets windy. I try to cut out the windy parts.
My friend Kurt calls me up, hey, your trailer just exploded. Everything I own. Luckily, my dog wasn't in there. And you know what the Elko County Sheriff said to me? They didn't really say it to my face.
So he had property in Nevada. He had this, we'll show it eventually, because this is where allegedly he led to where the Dylan Rounds' remains were at. That was what was reported by a certain YouTuber, but that's now seeing the evidence, that is not the case. I called him. But so yeah, he lost his property because some fire. He's explaining it, and then he ended up here at this property where he's kind of allegedly babysitting it, but technically squatting.
I said, when you guys gonna come down? Well, you live.
Oh, okay.
What are you gonna do about it? And this detective was down here the other day asked me, what about the report? I said, there was never a report done.
There's a warrant for your arrest. I'm going to let you know about it right now.
From Maryland?
So we're going to pick you up and take you to jail.
Here he is.
Oh, God damn it.
So what I want you to do, I know before you talk, you place your hands on your head for me. Interlock your fingers. Okay?
Yeah.
I got a knife in my pocket.
Right.
Okay.
He said he's wondering about your dog. Bring it back. I want him to talk to you. Exactly. I got you.
Oh, thank you, Carol, so much. God bless you.
I burnt myself about a week ago.
Is that gate closed or open right now?
I got it open right now.
Okay. I'm.
So now you're gonna hear something, and then we're gonna move forward here. Cause we're gonna get to all the big stuff here in just a minute. But it's really interesting to see this footage. I'm sure most of you are seeing it for the first time, just like me. And he's gonna say something right here, Jim, in just a second.
I don't want to. Doesn't he have a horse or something in there?
Got a horse. I need to get his keys.
Okay.
I take care of his horse.
Okay. So I got to spend the night in jail so I can get turned loose.
Right. But it's a no bail warrant.
What?
Like I said, I'll explain real quick, just a second.
I know what it is. In 1989 or 90, they put a warrant for my arrest when I was living in Maine. I've been down there twice to straighten it out, and they won't take it off the computer. I had a state trooper in North Dakota 3 or 4 years ago straighten it out so they wouldn't probably hit me unless I was across the Mississippi, and now they changed it again.
Oh,
So these don't move on you anymore, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, there's just a part up here I want to play, and then.
What about your dog?
He's going to take care of the dog.
Okay, right here.
Gate. I don't want anybody in there. Okay?
We're not going in there.
What?
Your keys?
He said he needs your keys.
Keys for what?
Okay, if I don't need them, I don't need them.
Just lock the gate.
Okay.
I don't want that.
Is your house locked?
House is locked, yeah.
Okay.
And the cooler is in the shop. I haven't been to the house yet. And the meat that I bought is in the cooler. You might as well do something with that. I just want to make sure that people aren't flying in and out of there and they leave the gate open and I got to go up the mountain to get my horse.
See how upset he gets about that gate? It's like his front door. That's what I was telling people a long time ago. It's like, even though this is not his property, there's just those people that just assume things are theirs. And so that gate, to me, that's like his front door, and you're leaving his front door open, even though it's not his, not his property. But that's how I think of it, like this is like his home, and that gate is his front door, and you're not locking it, and you're leaving it open, and his animals are running wild. But yeah.
This bullshit.
All right, Jim, can I just step the back of my truck, man?
Yep.
Anything in your pockets to worry about?
Yeah, I got a real dangerous Swiss Army knife in this pocket.
Swiss? This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, stupid gate.
Here with Dawn?
Maryland, that would be a...
All right, we're about halfway through. I apologize. There was a lot to go over. I was trying to edit as much as I can because
I got a wallet.
I've got a lot of footage. Of course, this intertwines with our search, and there's going to be a crazy little twist at the end that, like...
Just set it on his computer. You want to just set it on his computer, or what do we want to do with it?
So now Don is going to bail him out. This is the first time he got arrested.
He is? I know. Yeah, didn't you say that? Does he know who they were?
Now, again, they don't... I mean, obviously they suspect Brenner, but they don't have anything, like, concrete yet. But they are, obviously, because they're now they're doing background checks, a little too late. I guess better late than never, but they do finally get, him charged on that, but then he's going to be bailed out, I think 2 days later.
So do you think that would be where it's coming from? This whole deal, you think it's originating and coming from there?
Well,
and so what he means there is he keeps, so like I said, it's gotten in their head that they think it's coming from like Montello or people, these Chase Venturas, these Robert Avilas, they keep pointing over there. So they're still kind of like, ooh, and I don't know if Don was ever told like intimate information by Jim. It's possible. I mean, the stuff that I've seen from the interview, I feel like he's pretty straightforward. But again, I don't know him personally, and I don't want to defame his name at all. It sounds like most likely it's just a guy that sadly got put in a position that is just terrible. And it really ruined, I'm sure it kind of ruined his social life. And he even mentions it at one point, like, and he has to move because, he was out there with Jim. They're the only real two people out there closest to Dylan when he went missing. So it's like, is it just Jim or is it both? Or is it this group of people that they keep pointing over in Montello?
Oops. There's people over there with problems.
Thank you so much, Bueno.
Cocky kid. Somebody tried to rob him and he until he died. He wasn't give it up. He take no shit.
Not this county.
It could have been that. Or it could have
no.
been some random person coming to the sun tunnels from Florida or New York or San Francisco. I don't know. Come across him.
I guess it depends on what you mean by big.
He left his farm with that grain truck. And he didn't call Jim like he should have.
Population or
unlocked the gate, asked
square
for
feet
back.
or square miles.
Right after Jim came to my house. So unlocked the
gate. Okay, I gotta cut it down here. Paige says, I believe Don knew. I don't think he knew there were bones on his property though. Yeah, I never met the guy. I can just only go off, these interviews I've seen, and I can't hear everything because of the damn wind. Box Elder. Yeah, I'd have to look at it. As far as population-wise, no, but, I guess I better not speak unless I actually see it again, but I don't. As far as population, I don't think it's that big, but it could be big as far as like square miles. Okay, so now this is where, obviously we searched 1 week. I told you we went out on the 5th or 6th. Then, okay, so in that week, we went to the pond. Now, just before we went to the pond, we had met a family up on this peak. I forget what it's called. They had told us that they had saw them searching the pond, and they were under the impression that they had actually searched it. And so we thought that had been searched. And I'll show you the pond here. And look how beautiful that is. It's about as big as public swimming pool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Well, I guess that depends on what public swimming pool, but
Oh yeah, give me the butt crack.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, buddy.
No, I love it. It's a signature.
It's me and my cousin. But the phone is literally sitting in this.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, just like that.
How it like the moss is like.
GPS signal lost.
I mean, what is this? Algae, moss?
Yeah, it's green algae. Some of it can be toxic, but
Cleans the
it
water.
actually filters water.
It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, it is wild. It looks like spaghetti. It's really stringy.
Cook it.
But this place is very important
Man,
because
look how cool that is. How it like wraps around.
just look at it.
Yeah, the moss. It is actually technically moss. Yeah, see that shit?
Yeah, I mean it's really cool. There's areas where it's a little bit more like spaghetti like. It's crazy. Yeah, squirrels. But anyway, his phone is literally 10 feet from us. But we were under the impression that it had already been searched. So we're like, oh, well, we're just kind of checking it out, searching. We were going to get in there, but I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad they recovered it, not us, because when you recover a phone from water, what you have to do is you have to keep it in water. So when you take a phone out of water, that obviously is evidence. You need to keep it in like a bag or a tub sealed with water, because what happens if you take the phone out that's been in water, what happens is it starts drying out and the components inside actually erode because of the air and the water. So if you keep it in a container with water and keep it, in the same environment it's been in, and then obviously they can, then the experts can do however they do it. But so I'm glad we did not go in there, but we were going to.
It's actually really good for the water. It does filter it.
Nuts.
But yeah, we're probably looking right at the phone, but it's probably just under that spaghetti. And we got some photos of them searching the pond where they recovered it.
Oh wow, yeah, dude. There's so much color in this right now.
Yeah, I know. Like I
And
said,
it-
it's like almost neon.
And it is neon green. Like it's kind of a shame the camera doesn't quite do it justice. It does. It's got neon to it. It is wild.
Like, yeah,
Never seen anything like it.
And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I got some good stills of it.
Pretty cool.
Maybe that shit's wide, dude.
It's amazing what just sits in the middle of the desert,
Think of it.
It's crazy.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, it is beautiful. It's very beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
It's like what?
We're all just like in awe.
This is out in the middle here of absolutely nowhere.
Okay.
I wonder what it feels like
You
to-
look right over. Oh, well, I guess you see trees right there, but.
So here is where the grain shed is, right? And then this loosened pond is right up here. And this is very important because remember earlier I told you, Brenner said, he mentioned that pond. And I never knew that. I never knew Brenner mentioned the pond. I don't know why he did, but I guess he wanted to make him think that Dylan just kept going kind of west. That'd be kind of northwest, but I think he really wanted them to think west, and I think he wanted them to go to this wash. And we'll kind of explain why. And we flew the drone up in here. This blue line here is a street. So the property, you see this yellow kind of highlight. This is kind of the property. I don't know if I have it exact. It could be shorter. But it's kind of a square property that they have. And so there's this back road, which will be very important a little bit later on, that you can run through to get to the pond, where you may miss it if you're coming down the main road here, which is Pilot Road, which will take you down below and then to the gate. So there's actually two ways into this property. Then there's this littler wash that sits behind the property, and it goes all the way basically to the loosened pond. Not the same one as the bigger wash, but again, the reason I show this is if I were to pan to the left, we would be kind of looking over the direction of where Dylan would be found. But we'll get into where he was found exactly. Delphines, handcrafted. I'm going to just say handcrafted because it's a little small right now. Thank you so much for becoming a member. God bless you. All right, we're about halfway through. I apologize. There's a lot to go over, and I'm really trying to cut it down. So, one of the things that at the time, we'd gone out there twice, and we went to the pond twice, because you run into the pond when you go out there. The main road just kind of takes you past the pond. Now, remember how I told you guys that they had said his cell phone ping, they knew it was 15 point something miles from the tower, and that's kind of like a arc, it's a circle from the tower. So it was ping, his last ping was kind of like this, and we knew this, and so we would eventually go in here, but we'll get to that in a minute, but that would become very important. Yeah, it is. But yeah, so it was something like this, where the tower was over to the left, I believe, or it could have been this tower over here. Either way, for those that are familiar with, pings that don't have the full triangulation. And this area was kind of a spot that they thought the phone could have been in. And, okay, so let's move forward here. Of course, we were looking for tracks. Because we knew that probably, remember with the Diesel brothers, and this is where they flew that helicopter. They flew it right into this wash. This is the bigger wash, kind of like the Grand Canyon. Of course, we found these trailers that look very interesting. But this is the giant wash, and that'll become important because this is where they kind of got, I wouldn't say sidetracked, but that was kind of their only lead, really. Maybe not the only, but the one that I knew of, when I was involved. I think you're right, Alan. I think it probably was something, and we'll get to hear from a cellmate as well about, what he was told. So I'm sure, it could be a combination of things. So I'm sure you guys remember this. I'm going to kind of skip forward. Fun fact, before we go, I think I told you this I think I told some of my peeps a while back, but funny fact, I could never show you guys this clip right here. Because if you zoom in, there is a shadow. Now it's coming off. Okay, well, there's a Sorry, burped. There's a shadow that looks like a little kid in the window, right? Well, it's actually coming from this tree, and the sun's just casting a shadow onto it, but it looks like a head and shoulders, and it looks small like a kid. And because I was sending this footage in to search and rescue, if they get anything that might be, obviously that could be important, or, and especially if it looks like a person that might be held in a trailer or a kid, they literally had to call the cops and send somebody out. Even though at the time I had to look at the footage and I kind of reversed and went back and forwards, and then I realized that it moved because it was this tree right here casting the shadow. But she still had to call it in. And then after she called it in and had to send this poor officer out in the middle of the desert to go check on this trailer, which clearly was just a shadow from the tree. But I wish I could zoom in right now. But yeah, you'll see there's this little dark little head thing, and it just perfectly looked like a head and shoulders. And, yeah, so they had to send some officer out. Poor guy. And that's not easy to get to either. So there's the pond. This was the second week we went out there. They still hadn't found the phone yet, even though it's still in there. And we thought it, of course, had been searched. But again, pretty wild. And then they find the phone on June 18th. They go and search it. And here is footage of them going in there. So there they are with the wetsuit. Man, that's a little bit deeper than I thought, unless this guy's short, but it only looked like it was like maybe 3 or 4 feet. But they would have found it really close to the edge, like kind of where he's at. They wouldn't have found it in the middle. It was more closer to the edge, like it was just barely tossed in. I don't know. I think because Brenner mentioned it, which I was blown away. So I think he wanted them to find the phone. What he didn't know is that he accidentally recorded himself, and it's not an actual recording. It's a time-lapse photos, and there's actually 2 of them. I didn't know about the other one. And we'll watch both of them. But so I think he's pointing. I think he's pointing to the phone. Now they don't show the phone in the evidence, at least that I saw. So now we're gonna look at some of this. Might be first time you guys are seeing this. If you haven't, this is the time lapse video. This is the evidence. Like I said, they didn't really have evidence other than prior things, like his outstanding warrant, and then they would learn about his guns that he had on him. And because he had a warrant and these guns, they also could tag on those charges as well. So Brenner would have been arrested on June 10th, stayed for 2 days because I think it was the weekend or something like that. And then Don bailed him out. Of course, in my opinion, maybe Don just didn't know he killed him. Maybe he suspected it. But, again, I don't really know Don. But, again, I don't want to throw shade on him just in case he wasn't involved. And then a few days later, they would arrest him again. For good this time. Here is... If you guys haven't seen this, might be a little shocking to you. And this is about the only thing that's really shocking that I'm going to show. Obviously, everything else, with the remains, there's nothing to see. It's all edited out. So, but as you can see, there's blood on his shoulder. Somehow he opened up the phone. Somehow when he was putting the phone on the table, Dylan Round's phone, he somehow hit a button and caused it to just do a quick recording time lapse. And here's the gun that he sadly used to kill Dylan. But as you can see, blood. And this is huge because they didn't really have any evidence on him. And of course, they didn't have Dylan Rounds' body. So there's nothing to, as far as Dylan Rounds goes, even though now they have him arrested and charged on other, prior, stuff. There's nothing, to tie him to Dylan. But now with this, and here's a shot where you're going to see his shirt with blood on it. Yeah, it is a miracle. It really is. It is an absolute miracle. Because if not, I don't know if this guy would have ever gave up his remains. This dirt bag. So this is Nate Eaton showing where the blood's at. Yeah, you can see blood on his forearm here. And there's a couple of shots there. And, oh, yeah, so there's blood on his right shirt here. And there's some kind of cleaning supply here.
When
And so now it's June 20th. They've already arrested. So, of course, Brenner was let out, bailed out by Dawn. And then a few days later, they talk to Dawn, and Dawn tells them that, yep, he came and after Dylan went missing, he had these guns and he brought them to my house so I could hold on to them. And of course, he wasn't supposed to be having those guns because of his, prior history. And so, of course, Dawn tells him.
Jim came to your house, what was he driving? If you remember.
So I'm going to probably skip this so we can get up ahead, but they kind of ask him about the timeline again. Yes, when does Brenner get to, show up to your home? What did he show up in? And so instead of going this, because there's a lot, and we've already gone quite a bit. I don't want to go too long. Brenner was told, that day on the 28th that he was murdered, Dylan Rounds, Jim would show up about 3 p.m. Now remember, Dylan Rounds was coming to his property at about 7 a.m. So he had plenty of time to kill him and get rid of the body and then spend Memorial Weekend partying or whatever with Dawn. But he told Dawn, this is the important thing, is he told Dawn and everybody else, even obviously the officers, that he had never seen Dylan that day. Now remember, Dylan was coming to park the grain shed. So what Jim told Dawn and the officers is that when he went to go spend time with Dawn, he hadn't seen Dylan that day. And when he came back the next day or whatever, he had noticed the grain truck had been parked inside. And then apparently Dylan was back at home. So that's what he told everybody. So he said he never saw Dylan. And I guess when he came to Jim's, or when he came to Dawn's, that's when Dylan must have went and parked the grain shed. But obviously we know that's not true. But that's the story he told to everybody and Dawn. So then eventually they go through it. He's looking through his text messages and stuff. And he did kind of communicate with Dawn or Jim. And then he finally kind of tells him, yeah, he brought these guns over to my property.
Get it out of there.
Why?
Basically safety. That's what he told me. Last time, they had him in holding for over a year, and when he got out, everything he had was gone. Everything. If you ever look through Jim's phone, I'm sure you guys already did, but he looks at all these old gun sites and stuff and works on, or likes working on stuff. That's one of his things. All the old stuff.
And I believe Justin Rounds, the father, is in the truck as well. So it's the officers, and they're interviewing him, and then of course, as I just said before, he tells him that he's holding on to guns for Jim.
Down here, his gun, everything he owned disappeared.
So why do you think he's going to get detained, or why does he think he's going to get detained for 6 months?
Well, he does realize
something. Yeah, he never gave Brenner a ride or Jim a ride from here to here that day or a day after. You don't know that he ever drove Dylan's truck that day? Did you drive Dylan's truck that day?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Okay. Good luck.
Yeah.
So they get done interviewing him. They retrieve those weapons from his trailer. And then there's a polygraph, which I only heard of just a tidbit. So you guys will get to hear it with me. We are about 3/4 of the way done. I apologize for going quite a bit. Thank you, mods, for sticking it out. But, obviously for those that have been with me, this is very important to me. And we're going to get to where he was found and what likely have happened and how it intertwines with one of our searches that just really makes me I'm just kind of blown away. So I've got to use the bathroom. So what you're going to listen to is the polygraph test of Brenner and this really neat footage of, I think, a helicopter, but in first person. It's really neat. So I'm going to play this. This is all new stuff. And I'm just going to go full screen for a minute so I can use the restroom. But don't go anywhere because I promise you, this is very interesting stuff.
Did you ever use it? You ever have it? You ever, would you have handled it at all on the 28th?
No. When on the 28th, besides you, did you personally witness anyone else on your property? No. Besides, obviously yourself, did you witness a single other person on there? And would it be fair to say that you would know if somebody else was on your property, right?
No. I had the gate locked. The front, the south gate. Do you lock the north gate as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Is it the same key?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you left in your blue truck, did you have anyone with you? No. Any other vehicles in the area that you saw?
On the property?
No, on the property. Okay. And when you're going to the pond, because you go out the back gate, right? And you go to the pond. Did you see anybody on that drive? Did you see anybody at the pond? The pond's fairly small. I think if you...
Yeah. Never seen anybody at the pond.
Okay. What about on your drive there?
Somebody might have drove by me. I don't pay attention. But they were on that back road to get to the pond?
No, on the going to the pond.
Well, you go the back way, right?
Yeah, but it comes out on the other road.
But it doesn't come out. You're not on that road for very long. I mean, you can.
No.
Okay.
When you're at the pond, where exactly? I think maybe you mentioned it earlier. Were you over where you get your drinking water?
Yeah.
That spout. Okay. Were you anywhere else on the pond?
Yeah, I was down there where there's firewood.
Okay. So when I talked to you the other day, my days are blending together. On Thursday, I said I liked you, and I want to explain to you why I like you. Okay. Jeff and I have been doing this a long time. I imagine he's been doing this a long time too. We've talked to a lot of people in that time frame. Some of them have been really bad people. When I say bad, I mean like the kind of people that kidnap, rape, and kill kids. And I don't think, unless there's something I don't know about you, I don't think that's...
But I'm the only guy sitting here talking to a lie detector.
Well, honestly, if necessary, we will put every single person we can on this. So the fact that you came down and did this speaks to it's incredibly helpful to this investigation. The problem is that you're being deceptive. And like I told you when I first met you, I wasn't going to lie to you. And I haven't lied to you. And neither has anybody else in this room. But I'm going to tell you a couple of things, okay? When we talked to you on Thursday, I said we had good information that Dylan was on your property the morning of the 28th from about 6:50 in the morning until about 2:30, 2:40 in the afternoon. And the reason we know that is because he had called you the night before, on the 27th, around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, because, and that was, yeah.
And he talked to me?
No, it was a missed call.
Yeah.
It was a missed call, and that kind of goes against your protocol. If you want to get a hold of me, text me, because...
You don't answer your phone.
Right.
That's fair. Like, typically you don't ever answer your phone.
We know in the morning, we know that we know this because when you have a cell phone and it is on, it is in constant communication with whatever cell towers it connects to the network with. And those cell phone towers are...
Okay, I want to pause right here. This is very, very important because they're going to tell you what exactly happened where they tracked his cell phone. And because his cell phone and I believe Dylan's phone were kind of tracking together because obviously he kills Dylan. Now he has his truck. And now those two phones are moving together. So I'm going to put this full screen for just a minute and I'll come back real quick. I just got to shut down the heater a little bit, but this is very interesting. They're going to talk about what happened that morning. It's pretty interesting, and then I'll give the backstory to it as well. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Like I said, this is something, you know, as most or a lot of you know, I searched for him a lot. I was involved with the Texas Echo Search, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. And then where his body was found, it's not far from where you were looking. They're probably actually scanning not far from where his body was found, just to kind of give you a little foreshadowing.
To give a location of where that phone is located. And we know that between roughly 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. on the morning of the 28th, he's over, that phone and Dylan are over by his property. We know that he calls your phone at about 6:30 in the morning as he's coming up to your property.
6:27.
Probably to ask you to come out and unlock the gate, but because he didn't text and he calls instead, he then more than likely jimmied the gate, which you said he had done anyway. And then we know, because his phone is on your property for the better part of the day until about 2:30 in the afternoon. And then we know we can follow the phone taking the back road out, which is the way that you traveled. There's a roughly 2-minute period of time where that phone is stationary right where that gate is on the back, and then it continues to the loosened ponds. And I want to tell you something. On Saturday, scuba divers located that phone in the pond, and I've got a photograph of it if you think I'm full of shit. I'm not lying to you about anything, man. And first of all, that's the phone, okay? And it was collected on Saturday afternoon out at the loosened ponds, and it was collected from, you can see in this picture right here, there's a guy pointing to where the phone was found. It was about a foot of water. There's the pipe where the water comes from. And we know, based on your own story, and we're going to shore that up too, that's the route of travel that you told us you took at about, you know, to go over to Haley's for ribs. So
just to give a little more context, yeah. So he's mentioning, obviously, they found the phone in the pond, which we just showed that, you know, the photos. Remember, I was telling you the guy's pointing. That's where the phone was found. It was just found just right by the edge. Like I said, the two footages that I showed you earlier, we're standing right there. And actually, I think I got one more piece of footage I show after where we're standing right by that pipe. And of course, if you guys know the squirrel incident, that happened when I was standing near that pipe. Anyway, so now they're going hard at him. They're saying, look, we recovered this phone, and they had seen these horse tracks, his horse, and it was going along this route, which I'll show here in a minute. But I'm just going to tell you, for those that don't know where his body was exactly found, where they're circling is in the area. They pretty much have already circled around it a couple of times, just to give you a little foreshadowing on that. All right, we'll continue on. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys. I appreciate you. We'll keep going here.
you're lying to us about Dylan being on your property on the 28th and you saying you're not aware of it. We know that he was on the property. And there's no way in hell with his moving back and forth on that property on the day of the 28th that you wouldn't know. And you sure as hell would know if that phone is traveling out the property with you. So what Dave has suggested, and what we believe, is that something happened that maybe you didn't intend to happen, but something happened to Dylan. Maybe you got in a fight with him. Maybe it started with an argument because he didn't follow the protocol.
He's kind of an egotistical kid. He's a bit of a prick sometimes.
He comes onto your property without texting. He opens the gate, fucks up the lock, leaves the gate open. You're very particular about your horse, your dog, people coming onto the property and stealing shit. But he's on your property at 6:50 in the morning with that grain truck. And we also know that he backs up and fucks up some of your stuff inside that shed. That's got to piss you off. and something happened. And Dylan's phone is on that property, and we know that he's there because he calls his grandma at 6:50 in the morning and says, I'm taking the truck to the shed. I got to get it, under the shed before it starts raining. So, listen, we understand that you like Dylan. We understand that you respect him. We understand that you also have a temper. And I think your temper took control of you, and something happened that you didn't intend to happen. I don't know what happened, but here's your opportunity to tell the story. And I also know that after all this shit happened, you took some black powder rifles and a gun, and you gave them to Haley. All right? Here is your opportunity. If you care at all for this kid or this family,
at least give them
the closure they need so they can go and bury their son appropriately. I see tears welling up in your eyes right now.
And I'm willing to bet that you can give an explanation, right? You could talk till you're blue in the face if you were a child rapist. Nobody will ever understand or believe you. But something like this, you can actually give an explanation. You can make some sense of it.
I'm going to tell you this too. I've got 5 kids. All right?
I know one thing for sure. I'm not leaving here tonight.
Why is that?
I see it.
Listen, whether you're leaving here tonight or not, the question still remains. And I can tell that it bothers you because I can see tears welling up in your eyes. I don't think, listen, he's not lying when he says we've interviewed people who think it's okay to rape kids or to take photographs of toddlers being sexually abused or to do horribly unspeakable things to small children. That is all we do.
All the time.
Now we're talking about some cocky 19-year-old kid.
Okay, I just gotta apologize. I haven't listened to this. I'm hearing this for the first time, like you guys. So I apologize. I didn't know some of this language is in there. I would have probably edited that out. So just warning ahead. I'm not sure exactly. I probably should have listened to. I kind of proofed it a little bit, but because it's about an hour. No, I don't. It's not the whole hour, but yeah. So I do apologize, but it seems like you guys are enjoying this. And again, this is showing. Like I said, this was probably the motive. The lock. How he's. That's like his front door, and this is not his property. But that's like his front door. You're messing it up. You're breaking it. You're leaving his front door open. Now you're coming in and you're messing up his garage, even though it's not his garage. And he had stuff in there. And yep. Yeah, and these guys aren't messing around. Okay, we're going to go a little bit more. I think it's about 15 more minutes here. Yeah, it's really good. Once it starts dying down, I'll speed up here.
Thinks he's got the world by the balls. And while you have some respect for this kid because he is a hard worker and he's out in probably one of the most desolate parts of the country trying to make his way, he's still a 19-year-old kid who's going to get on your fucking nerves. So something happened. And here's what it comes down to, man. Either you plan to hurt this kid from the get-go or something happened that you didn't intend and that kid is somewhere. And I have spent hours and hours and hours talking to the grandmother, talking to Larry, talking to Justin, talking to Candace. They just want their son. They want to know where he's at.
Am I under arrest?
Not right now, you're not. Okay? But we want to know where he is.
I think inside of you, you don't want to leave him hanging like that. And I also don't think you want Dawn getting hung up in this stuff, too.
You guys have had the finger pointed at me from the beginning.
No. I'll tell you what pointed.
This was pointed at somebody else.
Yeah, we were spending a bunch of time running around looking at Chase, and when we pulled all the phone data, we could see when all this shit was happening, Chase was on the other side of the lake. But when you tell us your story, it marries up exactly where Dylan's phone is, except for the point where you go, I didn't see him at all. I left the property around 1:32. I was at the Lucent Ponds when I get the text saying that the ribs are ready. I go to Don's place. I'm there until 9 o'clock. When I come back at 9 o'clock, his truck is parked in the shed.
So it's got to be me then?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's why we also wanted to give you those, like, who else was with you? Because the phone literally goes with you.
And we find it. The phone has been found. And I'm going to tell you this. We have the ability to pull DNA and fingerprints off of a phone underwater. It's been done. We just have to send it off to the lab and do it. So here's your opportunity to basically come clean and be like, hey man, I fucked up. I'm sorry. You know, things got out of hand. You know,
I never meant
you told me yourself, like, my problem is with my fists, right? Not with guns. You've got a criminal history that involves guns and stuff, but you said, there are some things that we know, and there are some things that we believe based on that, and then there's some things that we don't know, and those are the things that you can help us with. Now, we may find those out, or we probably, you know, like I'm going to tell you, like tomorrow, there's going to be so many fucking people crawling all over that property with everything at the FBI's resources that they have available. They're flying them all in. They're going to be there tomorrow, and they're going to fucking scour that place. More so than anything you've seen with search and rescue. And honestly, you can save that a lot of trouble. Like, I firmly believe that you did something to cause the death of this kid. And I also believe that there's a part of you that feels bad for doing it.
I also think that you probably didn't mean to do anything. Unless I'm really wrong and you did plan it.
I'm not leaving here tonight, am I?
Why don't you do this? Tell me where he's at.
I don't know where
You do know. You do know. You knew what. Let me ask you this. How come you didn't tell us about taking his phone and throwing it in the pond? How come you didn't tell us about giving the black powder rifles to Don Haley?
You never asked, for one thing.
No, I asked you exactly what happened before, and I asked you what happened after. And you just left that out.
No.
But what's going to happen? Like, listen. Like, there's a very artful thing that you do when we talk to you.
I got rid of those guns because I knew that was going to be the next thing that come down the line. You were going to come and take them.
But why the phone?
Why the phone?
What about the phone?
Why did you throw it in the pond?
Did I?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it follows you telling me, hey, Jeff, John, this is where I went, this is what I did.
Why would I do that? If I threw that phone in the pond?
Because you, even by your own admission, have no idea how technology works. You don't even know how to set up an email. So my guess is that if you had the phone...
Man, these guys are not holding back. I love it. I love it. Just because he is a monster. I just want to point out one thing. So right now they're flying over Dylan's farm, and of course we love Nate Eaton from East Idaho. Big shout out to him. I just wanted to correct one thing that he said in his show, just so anybody's not confused. So he has a little pond there, irrigation pond, and Nate Eaton had said that he believed the phone was found in there, but that's not correct. It was found at the Lucen pond, not in the pond that is at Dylan Rounds' farm, which is right here. So I just wanted to correct that, just in case if anybody had seen that and may be confused on that. All right, about 10 more minutes here, and then we're going to get to where his body was found and a search that we conducted and how it all intertwines. And I'm in shock. I'm still in shock.
You're like, what should I do with this? I'll just throw it out. And then you're nodding your head yes, right? So like you understand, like you had that phone. You fucking threw it in the pond. You never told us about it. You lied to us about Dylan being on your property the whole morning and you knowing about it. It's just...
We can see the phone follow your entire path. Why'd you throw it?
I'm not talking anymore. I'd like to go home, or I'd like to get a lawyer or something.
Oh, now he's ringing up the lawyer. It's about to end here. Who's that? Two Tragedies. I am actually going to be uploading this. I'll be uploading this interview, and I'm going to try to clean up some other ones. But yeah, I'm going to be doing stuff for my Patreon, and I'll be doing regular videos just for everybody and members. I'm going to be really busy because, like I said, there's tons of evidence, and of course, again, I was a part of the search, so I have some insight. I don't know everything, of course. But I do have my stories and then of course I kind of helped with Texas EquiSearch And I saw somebody saying that they were wearing a Texas Equus earlier. That's awesome. Amazing group. And I'll actually show some footage of our search with Texas Equus Search.
Animals take care of it.
Okay, so 5 more minutes, I think. It's almost done.
It's not bullshit.
This is an opportunity. I mean, starting tomorrow when everything
For
comes.
you.
No, when
No,
everything
for
starts
you.
coming down, this is, you're able to show who you really, you're an honest guy, you didn't mean for this to happen. It's time to tell your story. When they collect all these
So
things.
you want me to cop to this, and then I could, get 50 years, or?
I want you to show who you truly are. Just,
We're not even caring about that. We're just caring about getting Dylan back to the family. That's all we're really caring about.
I'm through talking. Or arrest me or let me go. I'm tired. I've been fighting you guys for 3 weeks now.
Well, that's fine. And you're well within your right to do those things. But I'm going to tell you this. We are going to be doing more. And we are going to be working harder to find out what happened. And if we find him without your help, it gets worse for you, not better. You have an opportunity, and I'm not asking you any questions right now. I'm just telling you. You have an opportunity to help out this family. And yes, helping out that family goes against your own self-interest, because telling us where Dylan's body is means you're admitting to doing something to him. And you know you will end up in prison for a long time as a result of that. Okay? That's within your right. You can hold that if you want to. But you're going to look like a total fucking asshole if you take that with you.
And it's somebody else's narrative. It's not yours at all.
Exactly.
No explanation.
And I don't
just the killer.
I don't think you're a total fucking asshole. I don't. But that's what people are going to think. You had your opportunity to help this family, and you were more concerned for your own skin.
I love these guys, man. I'm hearing this for the first time just like
This
you. This is
I mean,
amazing.
I have to think, in your mind, you thought, once this happened, a little bit of panic sets in. Like,
Good to see you, Delphi Dummies.
fuck,
Love
what
your
did
work.
I do? Okay, how am I going to do this? If I make it look like this, maybe they'll just think he walked away, that he took off, that he went and did something.
This is June
I don't
3rd.
think you expected the response and what happened. And right now, you think it's bad as far as people combing all of your property, your place, and all that other stuff. It's going to get a lot worse. And you have an opportunity to basically stop it. You said when we showed up at your house today, you said, I've been kind of stressed out with all the stuff that's been going on. You know, that's because you have a conscience.
Actually, let me correct this so you guys aren't confused. The footage you're seeing is from June 3rd. The interview is like June 20-something, after they arrested him the second time. So this is obviously after they had recovered the phone, but they hadn't extracted that footage that showed him cleaning the gun yet. So unfortunately, they didn't have that yet, or they'd probably be on his ass even more. But, yeah. So we're about done with this. And again, I will upload the whole version, and I'll probably have maybe this footage and maybe some stuff with them. You know, I'll put together a good video that'll be very interesting, just like this here.
You know what you did was wrong. You feel bad about what happened, and you're trying to find a way out of it. We just told you what the
Of
way out
course,
of it
no
is.
problem.
Now, the way out of it is going to put you in prison. No doubt about it. But I'm pretty certain you're going to end up there anyway as a result of all the stuff that we're finding out, the result of all the stuff. And so now, you know.
Am I under arrest?
What have I told you? No.
Then I want to ride home.
Well,
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I want to ride home.
okay. Would you like something to eat?
Yes, I would.
What would you like to eat?
Something quick, because I want to ride home.
Okay.
I want to see my dog and my horse and my chickens.
All right, so we'll go ahead and skip forward here, but yeah, I'm not sure the exact date of that. I know that's either in between his two arrests. But I know he's basically, and what was messed up is when they arrested him the second time, you know, because he was arrested on June 10th, released on the 12th, and then I think he had a few days to be free, and then they picked him right back up again because of the guns, because he wasn't supposed to have them. And what's messed up is, so the first time he was able to get out because he had a bail. And then the second time was very interesting that I learned, the first judge allowed him to have a bail again for just $5,000, just like the first one. So he is going to be about to be bailed out a second time. But then luckily, I guess another judge came in. I don't know how that all worked, but then said, nope, no bail. So thank goodness for that. And here is, so this is Don Hatley's property. Of course, remember, after Dylan was murdered, Jim brings over the guns to Hatley's property, which is kind of northwest. I can kind of show you kind of approximate area. I kind of forget exactly where his property is at. I know it's northwest.
You want to pack up all your shite?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do this.
That's out of my.
Because there's so much. I've sat on footage for years almost now, because I never wanted to, mess up the investigation in any way. And at the end, I'll share one thing that sadly kind of got misconstrued with the family, and hopefully, we can mend things. And it's simply just a misunderstanding, and I'll explain it at the end here. Moon Shadow. Let me get to that, and then. I'm going to show you where the remains are found here. So happy to follow through this case. I was always wondering what finally happened. Thank you. Yeah. Again, same for me. And then I'm blown away because remember, certain YouTuber, very big YouTuber, had said, "Oh, hey, I got news. I know where because we had heard that they'd found his remains in April, and made a deal with Brenner, and we're going to learn how that was done." That's coming up next. I think we're got 30 more minutes, so bear with me, mods. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry. I tried to cut this all down, but there's just so much, and I didn't want to leave anything out. Well, I am kind of, but for the most part, I'm getting as much as I can in for you guys to give you the full story on this, because there's a lot. Yes.
Yes. I mean, honestly, all we wanted to do to talk to you today was to clear you on
Hey,
this.
I'm talking Nate Eaton.
Clear. I mean, so we know about the other stuff.
Handsome guy. Such a good man. God bless Nate Eaton.
No, you have basically told us without saying so.
So I'm here. I'm not leaving this place.
I don't know.
We can't answer that question. Really.
Oh, thanks so much, Wino.
What we want to do is to give you a chance to explain something that could be explained. Something that could be shared with people.
Let me step down a little bit. Sorry. So, there was so much, like, the files. There's so many files. Like, oh my gosh. Like I said, I spent about 9 hours putting this together and going through it. There's a lot. So here's one of the guns. Obviously, the most important one is this gun I'm going to show here in just a second. This is the weapon. Obviously, again, I hate guns personally. So, but as you can see, here's the rounds, the black powder, the brand Hornady 44 cal, and that's a revolver there. And sadly, that was used on Dylan Rounds. It's when he's arrested for the second time and never released again. So there might have been an interview going on with Hatley.
Ask you questions, not telling you to do anything.
Okay, so this is very interesting. I'm going to turn this down for a second. This was the other time-lapse video that was recorded. Now check this out. It goes very fast. Like, it's less than a second. So I slowed it down. And I kind of realized, so I think this is a second time-lapse video that's shot. Sorry, this is very interesting because there was actually a second time-lapse video shot, and I think it's that same day. And I'll explain what I think I can see, and I'll see what you guys think as well. Come on. I know if I try to skip this forward, I'm going to skip right past it because it goes fast. Okay, here we are. Now, what I think I'm seeing here is Jim Brenner. Notice remember he has that camo shirt on when he's cleaning the gun. And this is his leg. So I think, and I hate to say this, I think we're looking down at his crotch. I think, now this just is my guess, this could be the first time-lapse video before he cleans the gun. Or after, but either way. But notice the shirt, and I think these are his legs. And you can actually kind of see his jeans there. And you can't really make out anything except right there. That is his blue Chevy truck. I know, yuck. I'm sorry. But I just want to show this because it was very interesting. Never knew about there was a second time-lapse video. This is through the window. Obviously, since it's so fast, it's blurry. This is inside his trailer. But we can tell that's his blue truck right there. Yeah, I wonder if he took his pants off. Maybe because he handled Dylan Rounds' body and maybe had blood all over his pants. I hate to get graphic, but I'm trying to rationally explain why he doesn't have his pants on. But that's about the only two things I can make out is his shirt, legs, and then this shot right here, which is the window where we can see his Chevy. Oh, maybe SA. Yeah. I don't know, but we can tell this is inside his trailer. He's got that kind of wood panel frame stuff. And that's it. It's really weird. Somehow he's handling the phone and hitting the time-lapse thing real quick. So either that was before or after the other video that he created where he's cleaning the gun. But again, never knew that existed. And so I wanted to show you guys that. It's pretty interesting. But obviously we can tell that's his shirt. That would have been the window, maybe where the truck, because obviously it's upside down.
Like I said, something happened, but he doesn't fit the profile. Like he's not someone that I don't think he does this like a monster. It's something that happened.
They know. I don't know because we can see his truck, Just Jen, through the window. Again, I don't know his inside the trailer, but maybe. The audio's done, work mom. It's the interview's kind of over. I'm just turning it down because he's gone, and I think they're just kind of talking. Again, I'm gonna release this full version, so don't worry if you want to hear the whole thing. I'll release the whole thing for you guys. But again, there's just so much, and I don't want to do a 10-hour live show. And you guys are sitting here. Okay, so this footage you're seeing is from us, and this is important because we're kind of flying over the area that his remains were found. We were trying to look for tracks. We were trying to look for his, because obviously we knew that he drove Dylan Round's truck. So we were looking for, because there's obviously there's tracks. A lot of them are, either motorcycle or quads. But there was some distinctive tracks with that appeared to be in a truck. And this footage right here, and then we're going to show where his remains were found. Oh, I know why I was showing this. Okay, so before we get to find it, the reason why they would have probably just, I wouldn't say never found his remains, but Jim had told somebody that if you want to get rid of a body, you just go take it out to the wash, and then you could just kick down a wall of dirt, and they'd never be found. And I'm not going to... Is my audio okay? It might be on yours, Rothound. Maybe refresh, Rothound. Okay. It just need to be refreshed. Okay. Good deal. All right. So just real quick, we're almost done. 15 more minutes. About done. So this wash here, we actually flew over it the second time we went out. We had seen this on Google Maps, and we were like, ooh, what's this? And this wash is what they would end up being focused on, because they had heard rumors about Jim mentioning burying somebody in the wash. And so, and then remember the heavy diesel video that they put out when they went out there to search for Dylan Rounds. They had flown in this wash, and there was those tracks that appeared to be a truck, and it looked like it had fishtailed. So they thought Jim, after he killed Dylan, drove his truck out into this wash and drove somewhere either all the way to the end or at some point, because the tracks go all the way almost to the end. So it's like, we don't know when he would have stopped or if he went all the way to the end. Either way, this thing goes on for miles. So, and then you've got two sides of the wall. So it was a nightmare, logistic nightmare, right? They had some ideas of what they could do. They were going to try to do drones because they knew Dylan had been wearing some flannel, and they were you can kind of run filters in the drone where they can kind of see the, kind of through the dirt a little bit to see certain colors. It's kind of like kind of X-ray vision for certain colors. And so here's the grain shed, right? Here's where his cell phone was found. So as you can see, things are kind of pointing kind of northwest. So they thought, okay, well, maybe he did go out this way. And he entered in and went into this wash and dumped Dylan Rounds. So they were out there for a long time. I don't know. I was part of it for quite a while. And then it was also out there when they brought out Texas EquiSearch, and here's some footage that I've never really shown before. But we were just like, oh my God, how are we going to find this kid? And there's EquiSearch. And here's me, and we're actually at the end of the wash, driving miles in it. And you've got these walls on both sides that are 20, 30 feet high, maybe even higher. I don't know. I got to see it, And again, and we'd find bones all throughout, which, of course, in the desert, you're going to find animal bones, but, you have to check every one. But it was going to be a logistic nightmare. And they were kind of focused because, the tracks with the truck and everything, and then the fact that he power washed the truck, they kind of thought that maybe he power washed it because, he got it so muddy by driving in this wash, right? And so, yeah, we were just like, oh my gosh, we literally scanned it. I was a part of the crew. We were flying drones and doing what's called grid searching and taking pictures down in this wash. And then they would run this special program that would look for, obviously, any anomalies. And so, again, you could easily just lay a body, take your truck, lay the body against a pile of dirt and kick the wall down, maybe not here, but more over like here. And then just through time And every time it rained, it would just kind of cover over more of the body. And so, you know, they thought he was just buried in one of these, you know, areas. But but you have both sides. So it's like, man, what are we going to do? And of course, we did our best. They brought cadaver dogs in, got some false hits, I guess. But, yeah, it goes on forever. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. Again, this is footage I've held on to. There's the mother. There's us going in it with EquiSearch, checking all these areas. All right, now we're to the final. We got one interview, and then we're going to get to his remains, and then we're about done. So thank you guys to everybody being in here. And again, I'll put some short videos out for the interviews and stuff like that. This guy, I'm sorry, let me take a sip, kind of. I don't know. I hope there is anybody in there because, I mean, again, like I said, it'd be a logistic nightmare. This is, oh gosh, I want to say Robbie something. Anyway, this is an inmate that spent time with, he shared a cell with Jim. And apparently Jim kind of told him some stuff. So let's listen to this.
Your wife, and that's not why we're here to talk to you about that either. Could you have any guess why the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office would maybe want to talk to you about anything?
Yeah,
I think someone's thinking about it.
What's that, you think?
Maselli.
Who's that?
James Brenner.
Okay. Why would we want to talk to you about him?
Because he's the only one I know that'd be connected to Box Elder.
Okay. Do you think you have anything that might be able to help us?
Maybe.
What's that?
2 different locations where a body might be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Where are those?
West Desert.
Well, okay. That's helpful. We can...
Sorry, I had to pause that. I had a good laugh out of that. He's like, where's, where could the body be? He's like, it could be a couple places, but one of them's the West Desert. He responds, oh, great, that's helpful, because this is the West Desert. It's miles, it was kind of hilarious.
He's there too.
Yeah, he's in the West Desert somewhere.
Why do you believe that?
Just by the way he talks to me.
Well, what does he say?
He's trying to put it off on somebody named Chase.
Okay.
And he wants to say there's a road that goes from it goes from where he was all the way down to Clinton.
Oh, okay.
There's a dirt gravel road.
Okay.
It says it's been traveled a lot. It don't get traveled a lot. Actually, it's alongside the tracks.
Yep.
And that.
Oh, I know that.
And I know he killed a guy because he was jealous of him. Spoiled ass little rich kid is what they call him.
Who?
So that's interesting. He just said that Brenner told him that this inmate that he was a spoiled little rich brat.
That Brent, you're using too many pronouns. When you say he killed him, you talking about Brenner killing him or this guy named Chase?
Brenner.
Okay.
Yeah, Brenner. Yeah, Brenner. He's told me. Yeah, he's told me so much of it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't stop in the West Desert. I would look inside of a septic tank also.
A septic tank?
Yeah, a septic tank.
Why do you say that?
Because he's come across and told me all these things he's thought about and checked into and then he starts laughing and says, you guys could be walking right over top of the body.
Which that part is true. That part is very true.
I just want to start off like I'm being completely upfront with you and honest with you about everything. Honestly, anything that you tell us, we're going to be somewhat skeptical of, just like you're skeptical of us, right?
I get it.
just like you're skeptical of us and why we're talking there, like whether or not we're here to fuck. We know that you've spoken to other people about Brenner, and that's why we want to talk to you and see if.
I read some of his emails too. I read a lot of his emails where somebody wrote him and told him that we wanted to make sure there was fun. There's plenty of people out there to put money on Brenner's books as long as he kept his mouth shut and no implications putting Don into it. But he lost all his messages somehow. But yeah.
Where did you hear this thing about a septic tank?
From Brenner.
What exactly did he say?
He said,
start from the beginning, how the conversation came up.
Yeah. He has so many conversations, it's unreal.
So I'm just going to play a little bit more of this. I think I cut this down real fast because we're pretty much at the end here.
Why would he talk to you about this?
I don't know. He took a liking to me.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't act like all the rest of them. We're in a fight full of gangbangers. It's loud and obnoxious, and I'm not.
Yeah.
So, and I was only supposed to be in the cell for 3 hours.
Okay.
And they were supposed to move me, but I've been there. I don't even know how long I've been in there. A couple months.
Okay.
A couple months. I don't know. But he said putting a body. Because he said he used to work for a company that put cows when they died, they would cover them with shit, manure. He said that the shit will eat a body up, and he don't want to give up the body just yet because he's afraid it might go federal. Talking about the body might be cross state line. He talked about another spot up there where he said he lives. He knows that if it snows a foot, he's supposed to get a foot or 2 foot of snow up there where he was at. And if that's it, the search is over. You guys will never find it. It's been going on 2 years now, and I'm just like, I listen to it, and I don't talk to him about my case.
So clearly he's speaking riddles to him. Most of this obviously is bullshit. You can tell I'm shaking my head because I know where it's at. I've just been kind of telling you guys it's right there on the property, and I'm going to show you guys here in just a second.
But yeah, I don't talk to him, but he has no problem with talking about his. He hasn't given me exact location of a body yet, but I'm sure he will.
Why did he say that?
Just because he takes me to be his friend, and I'm not.
I'm not.
What has he told you about?
He told me.
Start from the beginning.
Beginning of what?
And the beginning of like when he started talking to you about his case. And I want to be perfectly. I want you as you're telling us this, and I want to be used to corroborate what he's saying. What you're saying.
I'd say Don. He said Don was. It took 2 people to move it.
Start from the beginning, though.
But I don't really know how to start from the beginning.
Like the first time he talked to you about his case. Just tell me about that. The first time you remember.
He just told me he used a lot of foul language. That you guys don't look at the simple fact that the kid broke into his place, parked the truck inside a building where it wasn't supposed to be. There was 2 different trucks or something, and it had to be 2 people. 2 people that done it because somebody had to move Dylan's truck.
See, that's where. So this is interesting because there's a little bit of truth where he's telling him this is what his Brenner's mindset was. Because remember when they found the truck, that people that have been here, the seat was pushed all the way forward to make it look like a short person. And when the mom and of course the parents first saw that, they knew like Dylan was not the last person to drive this because he always had the seat all the way back, and as well as it was in 4 low. And so this is very interesting that it seems like Brenner was trying to make it look like there was multiple people, probably Chase and Robert Aviles, because those are the 2 people that just keep coming up over and over again. And that's who he was trying to pin it on.
And he was salty about having to give up some gun. They put a gun back.
Through its eyes, yeah.
I don't know, a 40 cal, something, Cigar or something like that.
Okay.
And some keys that he almost got caught with.
Okay.
That's what he says, but again,
I don't know. That's what he says. It has to
But
be.
he says that, does he say he had another person, or what does he tell you in that regard?
You're not necessarily.
I just want to make it clear because, again, you know how, because other cases where certain people get implicated that have nothing to do with it, you know, it's quite possible that Don just got thrown in a very shitty position where, you know, he's basically his only two friends out there, you know, a young kid and this older gentleman. And it's not like they known each other for years, but, you know, they're all just kind of thrown into this mix where they're working, you know, in the middle of nowhere. And one of them goes missing. And then the other one is kind of acting weird. And now, hey, can I bring all my guns over, you know, to your place? Keep them there safe for now. And yeah, did he tell him stuff? It's possible. Or maybe he didn't. And he's just kind of a guy sadly got thrown in a mix. But again, so, you know, he was never arrested. So, you know, I don't want to throw shade unless we had concrete, you know, information. But
He's saying that he did these things. It's like he's saying that they did it.
He's saying that
yeah,
there had to be. He says, yeah, somebody set that evidence up. He didn't touch it. He didn't touch the truck, so on and so on. But see, he had to have somebody with him. Dylan had to have somebody with him.
and if there was somebody were with him, they would have had to been without a phone. Because remember, they noticed that his phone, Jim and Dylan's phone, were tracking together when he was moving around. Remember earlier in that polygraph interview, they said, yeah, we noticed you and your phone are at the grain shed. Now they're over at his, you know, moving around together, basically.
But then he'll tell me he's got something you guys want, so you're going to make a deal with him, or he's going to sit here and rot for 5 years. But
so basically, he tells him that he's just waiting for a deal, and of course, he ends up getting a sweetheart deal. But this poor family was desperate to get their son back, you know, for a proper burial. Excuse me. So I'm going to skip this forward because it's going pretty late, and we're just going to get to the last two sections here. So, where was he actually found? So we're at the last bit here. Go about 10 more minutes. I know I probably said 10 minutes 10 minutes ago. I apologize. There's just a lot to go over, and I didn't want to leave anything out because there's just so much. Okay, so we have the grain shed here, right? Brenner had some property in Nevada years ago, and then it burnt down somehow. And then there's this road that cuts through Nevada that kind of goes into Bald Eagle Mountain, I believe it's called, into this area that's called Augusta Springs. Now, this was mentioned at some point as well. Now, again, this is where a certain YouTuber, after Brenner did make the deal, and they went out and recovered his body, and then that YouTuber went live and said, hey, I've got spoken with the family, and this is where his remains were found. Well, I'm going to tell you that is not where his remains were found. So, because I thought, oh, that kind of makes sense, I guess. But that's not where his remains were found. I know I probably did, Kurt. You're right. Yeah. But there's just so much, and as a lot of you know, I was invested in. I mean, clearly, I was out there searching for this kid, and now to learn today, for the first time since searching for him, finally know where his actual location was found. It's you know, it's really shocking, and it's kind of closure because I really wanted to know, and I always kind of felt sketchy about them mentioning that area. So now, I just want to go back to what we were doing on we went out second week, third week. I think it was the fourth week, so it might have been the 1st of July. Now, we didn't know. Now, the phone had been recovered, but we didn't know that. We wanted to still look for the phone. So there's a video in the Heavy D Sparks video where they had talked about the pink, and they mentioned it's south of the tracks and east of the road where it bends, and that is in this area. So the one time we go out with the drone, not only the drone, we go out with a metal detector. And I'm going to show that footage. And this is the footage. And this is like beginning of July. This is our 4th or 5th search. And right there, you can actually see the metal detector. Now, it's a cheap metal detector. But we did bring one out. And this was my first time actually flying the drone. So I was kind of still learning how to fly the drone. So as you can see, it's a pretty terrible job here. But there was something we caught. And it kind of is a bummer because as well, so see the tracks? Notice those are truck tracks right there. We were going to be droning and using the metal detector as well. But we kind of ended up going short because my cousin had, can't remember, there was something that came up and he had to go, unfortunately. And of course, I had to go with him because we're together. So we ended up only having a half-day search. And I am so bummed because I'm not saying we would have found him, but we were like right there. And I even fly over something that's going to shock you guys. That shocked me. There is some truck tracks that I believe were Dylan Rounds' truck. Not these ones. And so he is... And I'll show you on an overhead map as well, and then the evidence. But he is somewhere over here. I think in this general area. Probably 50 yards, 100 yards from where we're standing. And here is the exact location with the point. So this is where we were at. And we were working our way this way. We were going to just continue going on, kind of doing like a half moon type deal, right? And so, yep, that's where we were at. That's the grain shed. So this is all the property right here. And his remains were found right there. We were right there. 5th week into it. And I mean, I have footage of it, which has metadata in it. And we were literally going to be working. I don't know if we would have gotten that far. I have no idea. But just to show you guys, we were right there. And so here is photos. They're going to go pretty fast. Obviously, there's nothing graphic that's going to be shown. But these flags are evidence, and you'll see a hole that they got his remains out of. But yeah. And it's the one day we had the metal detector. So that's the hole, I believe, and you'll see it. It gets dug out here. Yeah, it's not Dylan. No, it's not Dylan's property. It's the grain shed property, which is owned by Jay Chichos. I forget his first name. It might be Jim as well, I think. Jimmy Chichos. Not Jim Brenner, but I know it starts with a J, and his last name's Chichos. It's his property, but Brenner was squatting on, and that's where the grain shed. So it was just west of that. So Brenner could see. When he was there, he knew that he wanted it somewhere close that he could keep an eye on it. And remember, he walked his horse, and I'll show you guys at the end here, but just kind of go through the stuff. So there's the whole poor kid. And we were just like right here. Right here. working our way, doing half moons. It's crazy. I don't know if he had anything metal on him. Because I think we were still we were still searching for the phone. So we were hoping to find the phone. And then his, the phone maybe. Joe, thank you, Deanna. Thank you. So there you can see they kind of dug out what was left, obviously. I don't know what... I know cadaver dogs were used. I know some were used in that wash that I talked about earlier. I'm sure they did the area close, but sadly they probably didn't bring it out too far west, which is a shame. Yeah, button on his jeans. Yeah. And then there's a picture with bags. I didn't want to show it because I wanted to kind of show respect. But these paper bags, basically his remains, that's what his, thanks to that piece of crap, that's what his parents had to bring him home in. Paper bags. Truly, truly terrible. This kid could have done amazing things. But, yeah, so see the tracks? They take pictures because it looks like they could see the truck tracks. See it right here? Likely Dylan Round's own truck, with his body in the back, probably on the flatbed. And that's probably why he pressure washed it, because there was probably blood in the back of in the bed of the truck. I'm assuming. I don't know. I mean, that's would be my best guess. And what's wild is we actually capture those tracks right here, just to show you how close we were. And man, oh God. This is bringing back just crazy memories, because I remember showing my cousin, I'm like, dude, look at these truck tracks, dude. We need to follow them. And then something happened like 5-10 minutes later where he got a call and it was something very important. And so we had to go. I was so bummed. I'm going to show you guys right. Oh yeah, it's going to slow down. Because, again, we were trying to keep an eye out because, we knew that Dylan Round's truck was used. So we were looking for fresh tracks. And I'll get to chat here in just a second. Sorry, guys. I just don't want to miss it. It's coming up here. Not those ones. Right here. I think, no, was it these tracks? No, not that one. There, is that the ones? Oh, there's so many. There's so many single tracks, but there's one that's definitely, a truck track here. And if I would have kept flying, I think I would have gone right to where his remains were found, which is kind of wild. Where is it? Oh, is that the ones? No, it's not that one. They're somewhere in here. Maybe I was trying to put this together pretty fast. But anyway, there is a part where there's actually truck tracks that are parallel. Anyway, last little bit of footage. And yeah. Yeah, he was buried, but not very deep from what you could see. They had found some blood spots. I'm not sure if it was from Dylan, but these are in evidence. But there's a couple in the grain shed Remember that bar that was leaning up against the grain truck? So this is in the grain shed. So that could have been his blood. I'm not sure 100%. There's also this splotch of, I don't know, it could be blood. They did take an evidence photo. I could be wrong. Again, I'm not sure. It could be just an oil spill or something, because that is documented in there, some kind of like diesel spill. But yeah. So that is it. Pretty wild. I apologize. God, I went much longer than I anticipated. I apologize, but I appreciate all the mods sticking out. But yeah, like I said, that's the first time learning about his actual true location. And I know the mom knows that the information's out there. So, and yeah. So with Aiden Clune, for those that know his case, which is this young gentleman here, we searched for him during the summertime this year. We found his shoes. For those that are wondering about the update, they have been bringing out cadaver dogs, because that was the next step, because we grid searched the shnikes out of this forest, this huge giant valley, and we found his shoes by going back and looking at the evidence, and here's the officers collecting it. So anyway, they have been bringing out cadaver dogs. Now, of course, now it's kind of winter, so we're going to have to postpone until next year, but I am working with the mother, getting drone footage to her, and hopefully next year will be Aiden and his mother Amy's time to bring her son home, because these two kids went missing a month apart, not connected obviously, but so it'd be really cool to bring them both home. We were really trying this year. I mean, I nearly killed myself, for those that know. I mean, I ended up severely dehydrated. I should have probably went to the ER, but I'm too stubborn. But we're going to bring them home. But yeah, we'll go back out next year. Well, I don't know if we'll be going out, unless they need us to, but I'll support them however we need to. So, with that, let me just make sure I got everybody before I go. I think I got everybody. Kat, thank you for the membership. Wino, thank you for the donation. Moonshadow, God bless you. Delphines, I think. Handcrafted, thank you so much for becoming a member. Recorded Des, thank you for the donations and the memberships. Jilly, God bless. Flight Girl, thank you. And then Carol and those that donated through PayPal. Thank you guys so much. And Gary, thank you so much, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I will upload some stuff for you guys so that way you can just watch it without any interruptions. Give me like a couple days and I'll get that uploaded and have some footage with the interviews and stuff. No, they took his shoes back. Yeah, Lobo. Oh man, those guys. I'm not happy with those guys with the Aiden case. They're being pains in the butt. So, yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out here because we've been going way too long. God bless you guys. Mods, D, Sensei, Copper Horse, Mitzi, Sensei. I know I'm gonna forget a name. Jocelyn, I think I saw in here for a minute. Thank you guys so much for your amazing support. Members, God bless. Patreons, God bless you. And all of you guys, thank you so much for the support. Hope you have a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, wherever you're at. And we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get enough ready for the Sebastian Rogers case. And with that, much love. I'm not going to do an outro because we've just gone way too long. So love you guys. Be safe.